The Interesting Conversations with Interesting People podcast series with author Nigel Beckles.
Welcome to the podcast.
Please like the podcast and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. The very best way to promote your podcasts. Podpage makes it easy to create a podcast website with just a few clicks. Every page is optimized to be found on Google and it stays up to date forever. For more information, visit podpage.com. The future of podcast promotion.
Have you experienced several failed relationships or been through a divorce? How can you avoid making the same mistakes again? How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes is out now.
Hi, my name is Nigel Beckles. My new book is packed with practical and common sense strategies that you can use to make better relationship choices.
Now you can discover the dangerous myths about love. If your relationship expectations are realistic, why you could be falling in love for all the wrong reasons.
How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes. It's a book that could change your life.
Available from Amazon.co.uk. Kindle version also available.
When the Mood is Right, A Poetry Journey and Mood Swings by Queen P. Available on Amazon and all good bookstores.
The Royal Affair
by Queen P.
Dim the lights, sit back, relax, and breathe. You have entered into the Royal Affair.
Queen P. Poetry podcasts. Available now.
The Royal Affair.
Get ready for takeoff.
Welcome back to my Interesting Conversations with Interesting People podcast series. My guest for this episode has been to prison several times for various offences, but is now an author and the creator of the organisation Breaking Cycles. Agos Youngsam. Hi Agos, welcome to my podcast series. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And I just want to say thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So where do you live at the moment?
I live in Coventry, West Midlands.
So did you grow up there?
No, in fact, I grew up in Manchester. Well, kind of all over the place, really, between London, Manchester and Birmingham.
So what was your childhood like?
My childhood, it definitely wasn't settled. Like I say, it was back, forth between London, Manchester, Birmingham, London, Manchester. Not in that particular order, but our upbringing was pretty rough. It wasn't your normal upbringing.
So how was your life as a teenager?
My life as a teenager, again, that wasn't really normal. I spent the majority of my teenage years in prison, and that would have been from the age of 17 until I was 21. So, yeah, again, it would have been moving around, being kicked out of school. So there was no normality as far as I can remember.
Well, you mentioned prison, and I understand you started selling drugs at a young age. How did you become involved with drugs?
So I first got introduced to drugs, just the area basically. To be honest with you, the first time I ever seen drugs was when I was 13. It was, and I was out with some friends, and I was with a kid, and he was only 10. And I remember we went into like this room cupboard, and he's been smoking it. He's had heroin, what he must have stolen from his parents. I watched him put it on some foil. He was literally 10 years old, put it on some foil, was smoking it, and he was telling me it's like smoking 10 spliffs. That's the first time I ever seen drugs. I didn't try it myself, but that's the first time I ever seen drugs.
So how old were you when you started selling drugs?
I would have been, say, 14, probably a year after that. I've came across some drugs just by chance, and I've just started selling them.
And what type of drugs were you selling, Agos?
This would have been Class A, mainly heroin and crack cocaine, the drug of choice for the users at that time.
And how long ago is this?
This would have been in 1993, 1994, when I started.
So you were supplying, but I understand you actually started using drugs yourself. What were you using?
That would have been heroin, and that would have been in 2003, 2004, when I went to prison while serving a prison sentence.
So were you selling drugs on your own, or were you in a gang?
I wasn't on my own. At the time, yeah, I was in a gang, and I was. There would have been a period where I was selling drugs for myself. There would have been a period where I was selling drugs for my brother, And there would have been a period where I was selling drugs for older gang members.
So besides selling drugs, what other crimes were you involved with?
I would have been involved in burglary, robberies, and drugs. They were the main crimes.
How old were you when you were arrested for the first time?
I probably would have been 11. This was when I was living in Birmingham, and this would have been for a burglary that I didn't commit. I can remember I was with my cousin at the time. He's passed away now, unfortunately. And we was walking up the road. A police car pulled us over, arrested us, took us to the police station, questioned us. Was in the police cell for a few hours till my mother came and took me out. But yeah, I was 11 years old.
So how many times have you been to prison?
I've been to prison 4 times. This would have been, first time would have been 1996, where I was sentenced to 8 years. Then served 4 and a bit years, came out in 2001, and went back in 2003, served 7 years, came out in 2006, went back in 2008. I served 3.5 years after 7-year sentence. Then I served 15 months after 3-year sentence, come back out in 2009. And in 2010, I got 9 years in prison and served 4.5 years and came out in 2016. And that was the last time I went to prison.
So did you go to prison for drug offences? Was it all about drug offences, or were there other issues or crimes?
Mainly drug offences, but there would have been robberies on my last sentence, a 9-year sentence. That would have been for a robbery.
So how old were you when you first went to prison, and what was that for?
I was 17, and that was for supplying drugs, and that was for a robbery also. I was the youngest at the time. There was other adults involved. I was the youngest, and I was the only one that was sentenced.
So seeing you've been to prison several times, what is the experience like? What is it like being in prison?
The experience, it's not as bad as people would like to think. I suppose, depending on who you are, because everyone can have a different experience. If you're a weak-minded individual, I suppose your time can be hard. I.e. myself personally, the experience was, I describe it as a youth club where you cannot go home, because they've got, on the wings, they've got pool tables, table tennis, and you come out every night, chill with your friends, play pool, play snooker. So the experience, it wasn't really hard at all for me.
So considering you've been to prison several times, do you think certain people become institutionalized?
Yes, definitely. Some people, some individuals that go to prison, that for them, that's all they know. And their life where they're coming from is 10 times worse than being in prison. So if you can imagine a homeless person who's got nothing on the outside, go to prison, get 3 meals a day, get a warm bed, get clothes, get food, everything provided for him, no bills, nothing. That sounds more attractive to a person as opposed to being in a community and you haven't got a thing. So they become institutionalized. Yeah, correct.
How long have you been out of prison?
So probably 6 years. I haven't actually counted, but I came out in June 2016. So in June, I believe it will be 6 years.
Well, since leaving prison, you've turned your life around and you created an organisation called Breaking Cycles. So
Yes.
What does your organisation do?
So we just try to intervene prisoners that have coming out of prison and then just basically just offer just general support and advice. This is just for people that definitely want to change their life around. Me going through the experiences, just know how to identify certain situations and certain red flag situations, which I should say, and just share my experiences with them and just let them know what I've done to change my life and just support them really as much as we can financially and mentally.
So how long has your organisation been going?
It's been going for, say, 2 years now.
Well, you're also an author. So what is your book called and what is it about?
My book's called Breaking Cycles, From Prison to Purpose, Breaking Cycles, and self-explanatory really, just breaking all the cycles, negative cycles, in order to get a positive outcome. And it's just saying, just documenting my journey, just after realising that it's not a normal journey, it kind of would have been a sin to keep it to myself. So it's just explaining my journey, being in the worst situations, being involved in gangs, being involved in drugs, and just saying, look, if I can change my life around, if I can do this, then I'm pretty sure that anyone else can.
So, Agos, what other interests do you have?
Going to the gym, just keeping fit, eating healthy, living a healthy lifestyle, business. I love business. So me and my wife, We run a staffing agency / recruitment agency, and we supply temp staff to nursing homes and care homes.
And how's your business going with your wife?
It's going good. The care sector, it's never ending. So it's 7 days a week, 24 hours around the clock. With the COVID, it kind of didn't really affect us directly, but indirect, it would have affected us. But it's going good.
And how long have you and your wife been running this business?
We've been running the business for approximately 4 years now. We're just going from strength to strength, keeping me out of trouble and keeping my wife happy.
So, Agos, how can people contact you?
They can contact me on Instagram. So the Instagram is called Breaking Cycles, mainly through IG mainly.
So your book is on Amazon, Breaking Cycles?
Yeah, it's on Amazon and Waterstones. You can get that in Kindle version, or you can just get it in hard copy, yeah.
Agos in Coventry, UK. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, cheers. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Another In Conversation podcast coming soon.